Well, good morning, ladies. This is our Sister to Sister Saturday where we engage with a discussion. And so we're delighted to have two of God's finest who want to share with you some thoughts about the effects of what happened at the Oscars with our two brothers, Mr. Chris Rock and Mr. Will Smith.
Okay, so we titled this The Great Debate. And if you look at this, Will Smith and Chris Rock, and then, of course, the world, because this was a worldwide event. And so the world has weighed in and continues to weigh in on this topic. But within our discussions, God was somewhere small in all of the discussions. And so that's what that slide represents. We have the two, and then the world, and then God somewhere will get a mention in someone's discussion within this situation. And then for those who weren't on the line last week, there have been endless conversations on the Oscar incident involved in the two. We're all aware of it. But Dr. Christie gave a very powerful teaching last week on the armor of God. And during that discussion, she used this as an example, and it really kind of ended up taking over the discussion. So this morning, we're going to take a look at the incident from different perspectives, and then, of course, pull the biblical response into our discussion. And so, why hasn't the Smith Rock news died down? LeKeisha, you want to comment on that?
Okay, so we had a good time talking about this, and we joked around quite a bit. Everybody know that I play too much, but I was like, well, why hasn't this news died down anyway? And basically, we keep talking about it. Everybody keeps talking about it. It's on all the news outlets, and one of the scriptures that came to mind was, without wood, a fire goes out. Without a gossip, without a gossiper, the quarrel dies down. So as long as we're feeding this thing, then it's going to keep going. We're like adding fuel to the fire, so it just keeps igniting. And there's so many things that are associated with this. We see Will Smith, we see Chris Rock, we see Jada Pinkett Smith, we see them as these massive celebrities, but we also have to realize that these are people with hearts, with homes, with families. And all while this is going on, we're discussing all these things all around the world. And they're taking some pretty serious heat here, so it hasn't died down because we keep feeding it. We keep talking about it, and that's Proverbs 26:20, as you can see on the slide.
Amen. And then, so we're going to look at perspectives on the incident, what happened, who was right, who was wrong, and why. Then we'll look at the world view versus the biblical view, the irony of the world's view, the behaviors of both of the men in the situation, then, of course, our scriptural biblical response. And then there are a couple of missing perspectives that have not really been tapped into in the overall world discussions. And then the application for us, where do we go, or thought process, where do we go as a community from here? Where do we go? So what happened? The facts as we know and don't know. And we'll trade off going through the events. I'll take the first one, then LeKeisha, you come in. So looking back, again, I think I shared with you all last week that I am a root cause type of person. And so I very rarely take anything at the surface. So if we take a look back, some of the possible triggering first events go back to 2009 and 2016. In 2009, Chris Rock did a documentary on Black women's hair, and it was entitled Good Hair. Now, the original take on that was supposed to be serious, but of course, him being a comedian, he throws it into a more humorous type of discussion. And we all know that black hair is an issue among us as women. Then in 2016, Chris Rock does a joke about Jada not being invited to the Oscars. And then, of course, we're certain that there are other comments and jokes unknown to the public out there that could have been a possible build-up.
And so moving forward from all that build-up, we enter into March 2022, where we are at the Oscars, and Chris Rock goes off script. So that it's been said that he was informed not to make that joke, but he made the choice to go off script, made the joke about Jada's hair. And initially, Will Smith chuckled a bit with the crowd, but when he caught a glimpse of his wife's face, something went off on the inside of him, and he made his way up to the stage and slapped the life out of Chris Rock. So following that, Will Smith was feeling some different types of emotions, and he broke down in tears during his acceptance speech, and he apologized to everyone but Chris Rock. So there was some false humility presented in there.
And then from there, the video of the slap went viral. It went viral. And Chris Rock, ticket sales, he had a couple concerts in the works, and his ticket sales skyrocketed. As a matter of fact, they have been sold out. And not only did they sell out, the ticket prices themselves went like ridiculously high. And one of the reasons people wanted to go, especially so fresh, was in anticipation of Chris joking about the retaliation or using this opportunity to retaliate back against Will Smith. And then there was another story. Chris Rock came out and in somewhat of a defense of himself, he shared the story of an incident of himself as a child being bullied. And he tells of how he got a brick, I believe it was, put it in his backpack and went and almost beat literally the life out of that child. So there's anger in this young man as well. And then Chris Rock is called a hero for saving the Oscars. LeKeisha.
And moving forward, now this is a case to me of damsel in distress, and the only damsel is not Jada Pinkett Smith. We have Will Smith, who apologizes through social media to Chris Rock, and he's doing that because now he's beginning to understand the consequences behind his actions. He's beginning to realize that that slap affected more than Chris Rock's face, and his self-esteem and his manhood. It affected way much more than that. And then on the other hand, we have Chris breaking down in tears, when he's telling the audience, someone basically yelled out and said, some derogatory things about Will Smith. And, he had to put a stop to that, and he also saying, oh, I'm still processing this whole situation. And throughout this process, Chris Rock also began to highlight some of his other deficiencies, including his diagnosis with Asperger's syndrome and his counseling that he's been enduring for years. So everybody is now coming to the table to justify their actions. Will Smith came from an angry background. Jada supposedly was the one, well, she shouldn't have even been offended because she's been like the guru lately for alopecia, so she shouldn't have been offended by the joke in the first place. However, we put on faces, and I'm just gonna kind of stop right there because I don't want to go too far ahead of the game. But just know that Chris Rock, he is still processing it, and I'll tell you one thing that we learned about this whole thing though is we don't talk about Jada. No.
Yeah, and I think the key thing there is he's still processing it, just as all of us are still processing it, because it's a lot tied up into that. And in terms as we move forward, I agree we won't stay there. Um, we have to process it as well from another perspective. And so there were consequences and aftermath from this. So the first was Will Smith resigned from the Oscars board. And then just yesterday, it came out that he has been banned from the Oscars for the next 10 years. 10 years. So um, just throw this out for thought. Is this another situation where for a Black man, the crime don't fit the time? 10 years, which means that this is his first and only Oscar situation, potentially. And then, of course, we have the cancel culture who wants to completely end Smith's career. And then, as LeKeisha already mentioned, the trauma from the childhood violence was revealed for both of those men, both. One, Will Smith, was a helpless victim. He shares of the story when he was a little boy and his father slapped his mother so hard that she fell to the ground and blood was coming from her mouth. And he was always bothered by the fact that he was not able to help his mother. And then we talked about Chris Rock, who had a premeditated incident of taking matters into his own hands from being bullied. LeKeisha.
I'm sorry, my Zoom view was blocking the last slide. I thought
Okay.
we moved on to the next slide.
Okay,
so then we have the court. I moved it over. We have the court
Okay.
of public opinion, which is ongoing. All this is going on, so we have the world that's currently divided on an emotional, on a professional, on a personal, religious response. And I joked with Minister Jocelyn over the week, and I was just sharing the different discussions that I've had with family members and friends. And I started taking some of this stuff personally because, you take sides, you have your stance, you have your different perspectives. And sometimes when people think differently than you think, then you want to jump on and forget what we're talking about initially. So I was like, wait a minute, this is how I feel. But, we had to remember that we are talking about Will, Jada, and Chris Rock. There's all types of t-shirts, there's memes flooding the internet, and it just really turned into an all and out capitalistic opportunity, beginning like what Minister Jocelyn said with Chris Rock, with those ticket sales skyrocketing. So it's like, I am going to milk this thing until it can't be milked anymore. And the greed of society, all those in that position, they just want to see, how can I take advantage of someone else's pain? So we have basically Chris Rock, who was a punk for telling the joke, and then Will Smith was basically a punk for slapping Rock. So neither one of these jokers were right, and Jada was further victimized in the process. It still did not, none of this that's going on has helped the pain that she's endured, no matter what her and Will's relationship looks like. It's not helped the pain that she's endured because of the tasteless joke that was told about, her medical condition, alopecia.
Because now the foundation on women is set. We are now about women. What do we do? And that's the beginning of our growth.